With the Pokemon market dropping down in price and having a bit of a lull period, it does raise the question whether or not there are some unique buying opportunities in the market, and the answer to that is kind of. As you would have seen me cover in a lot of videos, hypermodern chase cards and all these real new Pokemon cards are the ones going down right now, especially high-end slabs. Though in this video, I do want to go over the 7 Pokemon cards that I personally think are great picks at the moment, based on their artwork and what would look awesome to have in a binder and add to your collection. Now, usually when I make these videos, I usually do really affordable, super cheap cards. I do have some of those in this video, but to spice it up a little bit, I have added some higher price cards as well, just to mix it up. I know a lot of you already know, but I am just in a banana mood and I've actually officially launched my Twitch channel. So long story short, I've been playing competitive Pokemon for years, and now with Pokemon Champions getting so much momentum and the fact that it's literally free, I just told my wife, why am I sitting climbing the ladders and climbing up ranked all alone? Let me stream this with all of you. Because real talk, man, I get so tilted when I lose, like, it is bad. So I'll be streaming ranked Pokemon Champions on Twitch on Mondays and Thursdays, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Plus, if you do subscribe, I do have some awesome banana badges for your loyalty. All the details to my Twitch are in the video's description. Okay, so starting at number 7, it is the Tauros illustration rare from Chaos Rising. I mean, wowee, what a card. And the price is low-key beyond a joke. I mean, yo, dude, this card right now, look at that. Currently selling for $3.60. It is under $5. This card is gorgeous, man. Like, honestly, I really like it. And the good thing about Chaos Rising, Pitch Black, Perfect Order, the illustration rares right now are at a very low point in the market. I've spoken about this before, but they're the times that you want to be looking at these illustration rares, not 2 years later when the cards start really climbing in price, like what we saw with the Chinchina from Temporal Forces, or the Riolo from Scarlet and Violet Base, so on and so forth. You do want to kind of get a bit of a keen eye to check these cards out, and illustration rares are honestly, like, I do speak a lot about undervalued Pokemon cards. Illustration rares, when they release, usually no one wants a bar of them, man. It's just like, oh yeah, don't want it, don't care, yeah, whatever. And then as time goes on, people just start looking back. That's what happens in this hobby. There is a big retrospective viewpoints that come in and people look back at it. So yeah, no, I really do think this illustration rare is gorgeous. And for that price, that's just an awesome card to have in your binder. All right, moving on to the next one. It is the Lillies Clefairy special illustration rare from Journey Together. Wowee, what a card, real talk. I've always loved this artwork and I've always loved this SIR. And while a lot of cards have been spiking and have become really unattainable, I think this one feels like a realistic goal. Here we go, and I'm on the last year on the charts here. And if we just go right here, selling for $172. That was the all-time high for this card. And right now, I think that's actually at an all-time low, 112 US. Now, yes, it is definitely expensive. I was forking out $100 or a little bit more than $100 to buy Pokemon cards. It's not exactly a cheap card. Though I do think this fits that category of like, hey, for how rare it is, I think it's actually a good price in the market. When the thing with Pokemon cards, and I spoke about this actually earlier, but because I've been collecting for a while, I haven't really adjusted to the new price kind of premiums for a lot of cards. I just feel like I haven't adapted to this new hyper modern chase card prices. I just haven't got there yet. Like my collecting kind of brain hasn't really been like, yeah, that's what Pokemon cards are priced at. This just, it reminds me of like Sword and Shield era where if you, like I own so many of the top big dogs in Sword and Shield era. Blaziken, Lost Origin Giratina, Gengar VMAX, all right, Moonbron. I had all of these cards because they were all selling for around that $100 to $200 range. And that is very, very attainable if you want. Now, I don't really have any hyper modern chase cards because if I even want to buy one of them, I'm looking at the prices thinking, dude, absolutely no way. I'm not going there. I'm not paying. I'm not a banana. I just cannot do that to myself. That's what I love about this price point because yeah, like if you did have a goal and you wanted it in your collection, it definitely is something that you can be like, you know what, I'm going to save a few weeks. I'm going to grab it. Now, moving on to the next, it is an expensive Pokemon card, but it is the Ns Zoroark from Ascended Heroes. What a card, man. This is definitely at a higher price, but honestly, it just hits different. It is a gorgeous artwork. When I'm looking at this, and the reason why I think it's an interesting card, you can see it was on a low point for 143, and this is hyper modern, okay? It did did go up to around 196, $200 card. When we look here, right now it's selling for 172. With all this hypermodern stuff that's really been climbing down, this one has held a little bit more stable, not really dropping too much. But in terms of Ascended Heroes, which is crazy to say, that's not even that insane, especially when you look at Mega Dragonite, especially when you're looking at Gengar on Pikachu. They're the ones that you're like, okay, nah, dude, I'm backing out. But for an artwork of this quality, honestly, I really think it's awesome. Now that it's going through a bit of a lull period, this doesn't really strike me as a card that's ever going to be some insanely, it's going to be a desired card for certain collectors, but honestly, I think it's a fantastic artwork. Though like I did say earlier in the video, PSA 10 and high-end chase cards, they're the ones that are dropping right now. You can see this was selling for 720 US. Right now, the PSA 10 is selling for 425 US. Honestly, when I'm looking at that, man, that is like, considering that it's dropped so much so quickly, it is a gorgeous artwork. PSA 10 is great as well. When buying cards like that though, they're never easy decisions because they're really expensive. But again, 4 graded cards and for an artwork that's just phenomenal, definitely I love this one. Now, while speaking about graded cards, if you are a big fan of card grading, I do want to talk about today's sponsor, Sushi Grade. So Sushi Grade is a card grading analytics platform built for collectors. One of the most challenging things about card grading is knowing whether a card is worth sending in. Well, that's actually what Sushi Grade helps with. When you enter Sushi Grade, you'll actually be able to search up your card and see its gem rate chances, but you can really drill into a lot of data. You can see the biggest price jumps from raw to PSA 10, and you can even just get a good idea which cards are actually worth sending in. One cool feature is that they actually have a card magnifier tool. This is super useful when shopping online, as you can actually inspect the centering on images. If you're serious about card grading, Sushi Grade does have a lot of useful tools. Plus, what's really cool, for first-time users, you can get a 10% discount off your first month with the promo code on screen. A big thanks to Sushi Grade sponsoring the video. Now let's get back to it. Now moving on to the next, it is the Mega Charizard X promo from the Ultra Premium Collection. So promo cards are weird because they tend to have very strong performance in the very long term, though at the start, a lot of people just don't even bother with them. And I really like this card, and it actually has been dropping a fair bit. Check it out. This was selling for around $50, which is, you know, for a promo card was probably a little bit expensive, to be honest, because yeah, the Mega Charizard X UPCs were abundant. But right now we can see it is selling for $35. I do think that this card is a perfect example of a card that's fairly priced. I think $50 is a little bit overs for this card with it's a guaranteed promo, especially when you look at like the Oricorio SIR. That is selling for like 11, 12 bucks, okay? It's showing you that those Mega Charizard UPCs, they were opened, man. Like they were not that hard to get on release. Now it's a little bit of a different story. They're selling for $35. I do think it is gorgeous, but the only thing is, and the only reason why I think $35 is a fair price, when I look at the Charizard VMAX, okay, I've always said that that card is so unique, okay, and in a lot of ways, that Charizard's selling for like 50 US at the moment. This one probably should be half the price of that right now if we want to like do that like for like comparison, but the hobby doesn't work like that. People like what's new and shiny, and usually it just takes some time to get there. I do think this whole mega attack rare art style is something we need to look at, man, because they are so for their time period. You know, it's crazy because people didn't like rainbow rares. People don't like the mega hyper rares. Why isn't there more love for the mega attack rares? Like some of them are selling for like cheap, man. Like to me, they remind me of like an old school comic book. I don't know, they're really good. Now moving on to number 3, it is Azs Tranquility. This is a gorgeous artwork, and rarely am I really a big fan of trainer cards, but this one just hits different, and the price point is really good as well. Though I also think, and this is just a little bit of a unique thing about AZ, I feel AZ has potential as a character because he was really loved in Pokemon Legends EA, and the kids of today would have created fond memories playing Legends EA, and he was actually a much more complex character than you'd see in a lot of Pokemon games. And I mean, I get it, with Pokemon Legends EA, a lot of people just hate on it, and they, you know, I feel like it was over criticized because after sinking over 80 hours into Legends EA, I think a lot of people's opinions are wrong on it, and I explain all of that on my channel, Philip's Trick Room. You can see the video where I actually asked the question, is Pokemon Legends EA really that bad? Now moving on to number 2, it is Ethan's Typhlosion. Dude, what a card from Destined Rivals, Gen 2 Classic, 3rd Stage Evo. Awesome, awesome card to have to your collection. And what is really cool about Ethan's Typhlosion, it is dropping a little bit. Let's pull that into the 3-month chart. Here we go, it was selling for 36 US, right now selling for $25, drop 10 USD. pretty decent percentage decrease right there. I remember seeing this card in person. I was like, wow, man, it is such a nice artwork. It really is. It's a really, really cool card. When you're thinking about these cards, like, there's some cards that are a little bit expensive. There's some cards that are cheap. There's some cards that are like mid price point. I always find the $25 range a very unique price point because it's not like people are just like, yeah, I'm going to just spend $25 like that. It's not a cheap card. The cheap cards like the Tauros, they get purchased straight away. It's these ones that people are like, do I want to spend 25? It's like, they overthink it, and then they can have really unique kind of opportunities in the future. Typhlosion, very loved character. I really think this is a great artwork. And moving on to the next one, it is the Pikachu Promo from Paldea Evolved's ETB. Now, the great thing about the Scarlet and Violet era is that they have promo cards, which does sweeten the deal because Sword and Shield era, there was no promo cards in the regular ETBs. They were only for the special ETBs. This Pikachu is a bit dynamic as a Pokemon card as well because you can buy this one, you can buy the Pokemon Center version, and you can even buy the Japanese version. And honestly, I think all three are great. So the Japanese version, which is actually my personal favorite because also it does have the Scarlet and Violet game logos on it, which I think looks really good. It actually levels it up a little bit. But for the Japanese version of this card, it was only available if you pre-ordered Pokemon Scarlet and Violet back in 2022. So literally, you did have a small window where you did need to pre-order these video games in Japan, and it was given to you as a promo, and I just love that. And it's actually the first card in the whole Scarlet and Violet era, so that also there's a bit of like nostalgia there for me, if I can use the word nostalgia for something from 2022, but I don't know, there's something about it that I like. But also, for the Pokemon Center version, man, that also is really cool because as we all know, Pokemon Center version do have that kind of premium feel about them. And then you have the regular version from Paldea Evolved ETBs as well. So you do have like, honestly, you can choose any one of these, but my personal favorite is definitely the Japanese version. And like I said, having the Scarlet and Violet logos, man, chef's kiss. It looks so sick. And in person, it really pops. Though real talk, I do think that there is a bit of an art to buying these cards, but a little bit, it also goes into spotting undervalued Pokemon cards. And there is a method to spotting undervalued Pokemon cards, and I lay it all out for you in this video on screen here. In this video on screen, I go over undervalued Pokemon cards and explain how to spot them before anyone else does. Click that video on screen. I really appreciate you watching, and hey, I'll see you on that next video.